Is 2000 Shaq the best player in the game today?
Absolutely, without a doubt. That's not even.
I'd be interested to see Shaq on defense. I'll just say that.
Well, I just went to Oscar Robertson in the 70s and said that he would not be the best guard in the league right now. I don't care if you dropped him now or whatever. Jerry West wouldn't be the best guard in the league either. But I think you have to do it in the era that they were in. I don't think you could drop any of those players and they'd be the best players in the league right now. Respectfully.
Jerry West
so then if that's the case, if we're looking at it through that lens,
well, I do think Stan's right to a point. Like that evolution is. Well, me and Chilp have had that argument for over a year now. Multiple times. I think that like there is a thing about evolution. Like I think players they're just way more skilled. Like they're doing way more, asked to do way more, and they're able to deliver at a much higher level.
And you're allowed to do more too. Don't leave that part out. You're very much.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Shaq's claim to being the best.
The rules. Go ahead.
No, Shaq's claim to being the best player in the league has never been he's the most skilled. That's never been the claim.
No, but I do think there's something too. We had this argument, me and Chill, again, in debate about Shaq in this era. I just think that like the space would present a lot of issues for him. Like he wasn't good in the space back then. Like he really struggled defensively in space in 2001, 2, 3, and even in 99 and all that. But I think this era would be a really taxing for Shaq, especially with Shaq defensively did not run the 4. That's something that we know he didn't do. He did not like to do that. But I do think Shaq as an athlete
have to do it today.
If there would be things he would have to adjust.
Shaq would have all that space on offense too.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I do think there's a world where it all could develop. But I don't know. Like I said, Shaq wasn't my answer because I just think Shaq would be great no matter what. But I do think there are players historically, like to Stan Van Gundy's point, that just literally they wouldn't be stars now.
So do you think this version of Jokić is better than 2000 Shaq?
No, I think he's better offensively for sure. I think that there's a level that he's reached at this point where he's at this point, real talk, I'm watching all the off-ball stuff they're doing with Jokić. I have not seen a big that's been able to do everything he can do off-ball. I don't know if I've ever seen a player be this good in the middle of the floor ever. And
outside of Chamberlain, have you seen anybody who attracts that kind of?
Yeah, well, I'm talking about the passing and like the short roll, the screening and all that stuff too. Yeah, the floater, obviously. I mean, real talk. I don't tell you. I'm asking genuinely. I don't know. He's shooting, like I said, 80% at the rim, and if he's shooting 45% from 3, dude, on like 5 attempts a game, and he's shooting 85% at the line and drawing fouls, and he's scoring at a clip we've never seen before, basically. I don't know. And then he's passing like insane. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
just say tough. What you want to say. Say you think Jokić is better than Shaq.
That's what it sounds like to me.
I think offensively he is. I think the defense is obviously going to be the
because
question.
When Ron asked the question about is 2000 or somebody asked is 2000 Shaq the best player in the league right now, you had a reaction to that.
Well,
I think you can say Jokić would be better in today's game than Shaq would be, but still think Shaq's a better player.
But I just disagree. I don't think Jokić is better.
Yeah, that's fine. We
Shaq.
can disagree. Once again, it's not about agreeing or disagreeing. It's about what the conversation is.
Yeah.
I think you can say, but I don't think it's hypocrisy to say I think Shaq peaked higher than Jokić, but I also think Jokić would be a better player if they both played in the league today. That comes down to league rules, what the league is asking players to do, all of those things. And some players are just better suited for the climate of the era. Like if we go back to the 90s, I think you can make a very strong argument. A guy like James Harden or Kevin Durant, the best isolation scorers the NBA has in the 2010s, would be better than, for example, maybe a guy like Steph Curry. Not saying he would be. I'm saying you can make that argument because of how good they are in isolation with the illegal defense stuff. But if you put them in the 2010s or the 2020s, you can say Steph is better than those two. It's not about who's the better player. It's about who fits the time and the rules of that era. Like Steph Curry isn't going to be able to shoot 12 threes a game because it's the 90s. He's just not going to be allowed to. So you minimize some of his impact. That doesn't mean he's a worse player.
Would he not be able to?
It means that the league, he's not going to. They're going a lot. He's going to play more like good a shooter. He's going to play more like rookie Steph. You could argue rookie Steph was the second best shooter in the league. Obviously, you got.
Well, the thing I'm thinking,
but he was shooting a lot of mid range jumpers.
And I want you to continue your point, Mark. The reason why I'm thinking that is because of how good he is as a shooter. Wouldn't a good coach like?
They'll just have him shoot a lot of jumpers, but it would be mid range jumpers. That's what he did as a rookie.
Because I'm thinking like Lenny Wilkins.
He's one of the best shooters in the league.
But he's also one of the best ball handlers ever too. Like Steph would be great in every era he played in.
Yeah, and that's not the argument. The argument isn't great.
No, I'm not talking to you. I'm just more so just.
But would he shoot as many threes? I don't think so. I agree with Morris. My thing with Shaquille O'Neal is that I just want, and I'm not necessarily talking to you five, I'm talking to the world. I want y'all to stop pretending like only thing Shaq did was catch the ball and dunk.
That's not what he did. He did more than that.
Because Shaquille O'Neal did a whole lot more than that. He had a lot of touch, and he was actually quite a good passer. The thing is, what I'm passing the ball for? You know what I'm saying? Like, you niggas passing me the ball, but he absolutely was a really good passer. He passed up in. I'm not even talking about young Shaq when he was doing this thing in transition too. He was a really good passer off the block, a really good passer out of the double team, and had really good touch. And he was a lot faster than y'all want to give him credit for. He moved
just athletic in general.
He moved very, very well. Very well. Shaquille O'Neal was not just some big feet in concrete standing around, can't do nothing. He had his spin move was just as quick, if not quicker than Tim Duncan's. He was nice.
He was a freak of nature, yo.
I do agree. Like, it's talked about.
I was literally just about to say that, Morris. Like, if we're talking about fit and all of that, like, we can always run to peak Shaq or Shaq when he was at his best or had his best season and all of that. But let's not act like 1996 did not happen. Let's not act like 1995 was not the real deal. Let's not act like we wasn't watching Shaq grab the ball off the glass and go coast to coast with a handle and drop off assists to Penny Hardaway and stuff like that. Like,
those are highlights, though. Like, that wasn't a big part of his game. And again, remember, hold on. I know, but just let me finish the point, because I remember I argued with Chill that he was better than Malone. So I'm with you. Shaq was incredible. Like, I think. Again, this is a long-standing conversation. I think Shaq is a one-on-one player. But I feel like I'm very sober about Shaq's strength and his weaknesses. Shaq absolutely was the most dominant player we'd ever seen for space and time in the NBA. Like, I don't think that's much of a debate, for sure.
But Swiper, you saying that was highlights, which is right, which is true. But what I'm saying is, because we're talking about transporting the eras, if we put that Shaq in this era and he had the freedom of an Evan Mobley, you know how much differently we would talk about him?
Yeah, he would.
Obviously, he probably wouldn't. He wouldn't.
I think
Shaq
he would struggle even more defensively in this era than he did then, though. I think that's the point.
I'm talking about Orlando Magic. Shaq.
No, I hear you, but I feel like I'm talking to a wall a little bit, because that Shaq still had a lot of deficiencies as a defender. I do think it will be more stress for him to be
Nikola Jokić for most people.
Yeah.
Like, what? I don't understand why at this point he's being brought up for Shaq.
Because we're having a holistic conversation about the player.
Because Shaq is better on both ends of the floor.
I'm not, but this is what I'm saying. Like, when we start in Ox, all right, sure. Like, you said he's better on both ends of the floor, and I'm saying, okay, well, I mean,
like you Swiper, you're talking to us about how Shaq would struggle in this era defensively. Like, what's the biggest problem with Joker now
in space?
What do people complain about him?
What's the biggest problem with Luka? What is SGA's biggest weakness?
But at least Shaq can still provide rim protection. And
yes, like, he will get on the glass.
He still would have redeeming qualities on defense.
100% he does that. Absolutely.
But it's not saying that Shaq wouldn't. I guess I'm not trying to criticize that he didn't play any defense, but I'm also not blind to what Shaq said about himself as well. Like, he wasn't a defender. Like, he's talked about this multiple times.
He's just saying that. That's not true. Shaq was an awesome.
He's just saying that.
Yeah, he's just saying.
I hate when we talk about basketball based on interviews. We saw what was going on the court.
I also watched as well. Like, I don't know. Like, but
and I did too.
I never thought Shaq was a bad defender.
Shaq wasn't a good rim protector. He was
got older.
The effort was inconsistent.
That's all it was, Moss. He was an elite rim protector, 100%. Just so you know, Shaq. Just so you know, Swiper. Shaq. This is the same Shaq who said, if you get drafted to a team, you should have to stay with that team for your whole career. He said that.
No, but I hear you with that, but we also have multiple instances, like when they played versus the Suns, where he struggled. Played versus the Mavericks, he struggled. I think those were facsimiles for what the era would be now. It doesn't, but again, we're just talking about as a whole. Like, we're just talking about the whole. It wouldn't mean he wouldn't be the best in the world now or have an argument for best in the world now. That's not what I'm saying.
Too, by the way, when he was in Phoenix, he was on that 8 seconds or less offense. He made the
in 2006. Yeah, in 2006. Yeah,
in 2009,
they missed the playoffs that year,
which is nuts, by the way, because I think that was the first time in NBA history that a team had won over 40. I think they won 44 games that year and missed the playoffs. 44 or 45.
I mean, that happened in 2011.
That had never happened previous to that.
Yeah, they missed the playoffs. It wasn't the greatest fit. Amari didn't play the whole year. It was
right.
Shaky.
I just don't think the pushback of Shaq wouldn't be this level of defender in space, which is would be a reason that's holding him back from being the best player in the world. When
But that wasn't my point.
Sure. When we have the best player in the world to most people struggling in space. And so that is at best a moot point.
And I think he's much more limited offensively than Jokić is.
See, that part right there is where
it is, but there are.
You can't do as much as.
But that's what the conversation is. I know that's where he doesn't. To you. Yeah, that's where the line is. That's where the line is going to be. That's why I think Jokić is a better offensive player than him. That's where we're going to work from there.
Ron, I don't know if you noticed, but in 2000, Shaq finished second in Defensive Player of the Year that year.
Behind Alonzo Mourning? Was that who won it?
Yeah, I thought he should have won it. Yeah, I
wouldn't have a problem with that.
I thought he should have won it that year.
One thing that I think is being ignored, and we talk about this like every postseason, especially when we watch the Nuggets, guys can't throw entry passes in today's game.
Mm-hmm.
So Shaq might be less effective by the mere fact that the guys around him can't fundamentally execute the main.
There's a difference, though, Mars. He doesn't need that. He's not that kind of player who needs you to throw.
He needs the ball.
But yes, he does. But he also is the player who can get the ball off the glass and go with it. He's also the player who can back players down. I don't need you to throw me an entry pass. I can get the ball at the mid post.
He's going to be less effective if you're asking Shaq to initiate offense to get him the ball. Like whether or not he can do it.
You also have to post up.
He's going to be less effective. I agree, and that's where. I'm not saying Shaq is Jokić in that regard, because Shaq's off-ball movement in terms of sealing and getting guys buried under the rim, he's going to make, and he has a larger catch rate. He's going to be easier to get him the ball. So I'm not saying it would. Oh, you watch Jokić get fronted by Caruso,
vertical spacing. Yeah.
I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is, if we all agree that entry passing has become a lost art in the NBA today, we can logically come to the conclusion that some of Shaq's impact will be dented through no fault of his own, by the simple fact that he might not have teammates able to get him the ball with the same regularity as what he used to. And that doesn't mean Shaq's a worse player, but that just means, once again, similar to what I said about Steph and KD in the 90s, the league has changed. And how much the league changes, what changes how much a player can be impactful. I think the best example of that is Steve Nash. We watched Steve Nash go from an all-NBA caliber player to an MVP caliber player overnight because of league rule changes and the Suns being ahead of their time. He went from two drastically different players. Now, I'm not on the side of, Steve Nash was never good before. I think none of us are on that side. But we can see pre-05 and post-05 Steve Nash, two completely different players. And the only thing that changed was that the Suns were ahead of the curve in terms of where the league was heading, and league rules changed in terms of physicality on the outside. Did Steve Nash become a magically better player overnight? I wouldn't say so. But the league rules allowed him to be a lot better than he was before that. And I think that's the same thing that would apply with the illegal defense of the 90s, the freedom of movement in today's game, all of that stuff. The defensive 3-second stuff in the early 2000s made guys like Tim Duncan, in my opinion, way better defenders than if they were asked to defend in today's game. That doesn't mean Tim Duncan wouldn't be an amazing defender today, but I do think he was definitely helped by the more condensed spacing, the defensive 3 seconds in the early 2000s. Rules affect players, is what I'm saying. Basically,
Absolutely.
Rules affect players and how good they are.
But Mars, I think that's a very fair point. And I won't push back on that. But what I will push back on is this. If guys can't post up, if guys can't make entry passes, if guys can't box out, how are they better basketball players? Because they're good in cone drills? Because they can hit step back threes and flop? Is that what's going on here? I just want to know. Like, what?
That's what it is. It's pass dribble shoot.
Offensively skilled, basically, is what they're saying. I also
think they're more skilled, real talk, fine, but they're not better basketball players.
What I wanted to say about the Shaq conversation in today's game, I don't even agree that Jokić would just for sure be a better offensive player than Shaq in 2026, because I think that Shaq would be bending defenses to an extent that the only rivalry for that is Steph Curry to the NBA, as far as bending defenses and just having them completely collapse at your will. There aren't fives, just like we're talking about skill sets right now. You know what else is a lost skill? Post defense, because people don't post anymore. So if you put Shaq in today's game, he's getting guarded by who? Bam
Isaiah
out in
Hartenstein.
Ohio, or these 6'8" to 6'10" thin frame centers.
Draymond.
Daniel Gafford.
Bro, he is destroying the league.
But real talk.
He's gonna force rosters to change completely.
Just like he did.
Just like he did, yeah.
But real talk. This it's just they don't know how to play basketball. Dudes don't even cut to open spots and find open spots. They just stand around and watch most of the time. And these complex offenses only look complex because these dudes only know how to play one-on-one basketball.
Well, I would make the argument that the Western Conference has changed its roster structure because of Jokic still a couple of years ago. I think the Wolves are the Timberwolves and the Thunder and the Rockets. I think they're all like competent to that. I think they all of them added a big to their roster.
Make cuts.
I think that's why you get Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet. That's why you get Steven Adams and Şengün. That's why you get Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. Zubac. Like the reason why these players have a lot of viability now because you have so many bigs that I think they're so skilled now. You have to have a center on your team that can guard, rim protect, and score to a degree.
How do you not? I'm sorry, Mars. This shit driving me crazy. How can you not know how to throw the ball in the post? Big fella's asking for the ball.
Not everybody has a center they throw the ball to anymore.
Because chill, they only do cone drills.
That shit is blowing my mind.
Because the philosophy of basketball now, especially I can't speak to people growing up. I'm in a different continent. But I feel like with the way spacing has become more emphasized, you want to clear the block as opposed to have it occupied. Because you want to have your perimeter guys able to drive into those open spaces. So because of that, people probably aren't coached to throw entry passes and play out of that because of the way 5-out or 4-out one-in guy in the dunker spot has been more emphasized as opposed to having a post-up guy who's going to draw a double and then you play out of that. It's just the way the game has changed, I think. And I think the Suns from yesteryear are the biggest reason for that because they had Amari. But if you watch them, it was a lot of pick and roll. It wasn't much. Amari could post up, so they would get him the ball. But even Steve Nash wasn't the greatest at throwing entry passes. That was like the one. Like, that's why I think him and Shaq didn't fit that well because he actually wasn't that good at throwing entry passes. So I think when you have an offenses that are spearheaded by point guards or ball handlers who are trying to get downhill and create, you don't want someone.
It's also a hard pass to throw. Like
it isn't.
Well, no, chill. Because again, now for bigs that are of that level, it is. You're getting fronted on one end, and then you have somebody on the back side of you. Yeah, it is. No.
That is? So you know what that is, Swiper?
Ball reversal.
It's literally a ball. It's
they do.
Bink.
Ron, they do. But the problem is defenses, to their credit, have gotten good enough where they are trying their very best. It's not always successful. They're trying their very best to throw off all those angles. They are doing ball reversal. So then what happens is
so people didn't do that back in the day.
Some
people just now started trying to deny the ball.
I'm not on the extreme that teams don't know how to do it. There's just not as many people that know how to do it well. I think that teams that have bigs, Harden, great at throwing entry passes. That's why Embiid was flourishing next to James Harden. Russell Westbrook. They also will change the way the court is structured. So instead of putting you in the post where you can get fronted and have weak side help, we'll just put you at the nail. And now we run different actions at the nail in that situation, and you can get a small on you on a switch. Go ahead.
You also gotta understand the names you just mentioned though. Mars mentioned Westbrook. You mentioned Harden. Yeah, they played in they grew up in the 2000s where people were still posting up. They grew up. They played AAU with post players. Kevin Love, Renardo Sidney, those type of guys. They played with 5-star big men who still were on the block. So they came up like that. We're talking about the guys nowadays.
You don't think Jamal Murray's a good entry pass thrower?
Yeah.
I actually don't think he's that good.
I mean, he's played with them for 10 years. I think he's good at it.
I don't think he's that good.
It's chemistry, though.
Cool.
Who do you think
it's chemistry?
Trae Young probably is a good entry passer if he had a big, like an actual big.
I think Luke is good at throwing entry passes.
Played overseas where they post up.
Bron's really good, but if you're talking about
Hallie,
this generation, Hallie, trying to go down the league and think.
Trae Young's a really good entry pass thrower. You just worried about him being small, but he can get the ball and he can get the ball in the post. He does a good job with that.
It's more like high-low stuff these days. Like with like Jarrett Allen and Mobley and stuff.
Double big lineups.
Yeah. So like
it's easier to do it that way.
I think it's both. Oh, Josh Giddey's actually a good one. I think it works both ways. I think guards and players in general have got worse at throwing entry passes, but like bigs aren't as good at commanding their space and working to get the ball down low as well. Like
tough.
when it comes to like Shaq, like if Shaq couldn't get the ball, the movement was constant. Like Shaq was constantly trying to get himself in a position to receive the ball, whether that's over the top, sealing his man, or just digging his man deeper in the paint so that he could get position. You watch bigs today quite often. Quite often, I think you'll see a big park themselves on the block, and if they're getting fronted, like the possession kind of dies.
Yeah, that's
like
it.
it's like, oh yeah, okay, well I guess I ain't getting the ball this play.
That's
And
it.
it's like, well, no, work to get
Instead
the ball.
of pushing a guy up the lane and asking for the
exactly.
basketball.
And then because if you're able to move a person further out and then they reverse the ball, now you have the man on your back and you have an easy access to the rim. But that doesn't happen.
But when did they do
and
that?
then, if they are fronting and then there's a man behind,
but I feel like
then
that
you've got free space on the back.
Boogie was good at that too.
So
Boogie was good at that too.
If they
I mean, you have to.
I think you should have an open shot every time.
I think offensively, though, you have to have the map laid out, your court laid out correctly with that. Because to your point, I think the weak side player, you typically would want to at least be a threat as a shooter. Because if you're going to then reverse the ball, and if you're still going to stay contained on the inside, like if you're going to front and then you're just going to pivot your defense around the big, then you should have an open spot that you can shoot from. But teams have adjusted to being able to guard well, depending on and that's probably where defenses is so different now. They know your worst personnel on offense, and they will make you pay by spamming that every single possession more often than you want to. And so if you have a non-floor spacer or a non-threat on the floor, they're going to make the offense around that player almost impossible to score around. So like defenses are also better too now, man. Like they're just smarter. Like
but it's also on the coach. If you have a bad shooter, you can't just keep parking them in the corner and hoping.
No, that's not going to work.
Like that's also illogical. Like there are some offensive players who I think are beyond help. I'm looking at Jared Vanderbilt's of the world. I think they are just beyond. It's over for them. There's no redeeming qualities offensively. But if you have a bad shooter who can play the baseline, who can play the dunker spot, or who can play in the middle of the floor as a connector, like it's in your best interest to utilize them in a way that makes them effective, as opposed to having them in the corner, knowing they can't shoot, knowing they're going to be left alone, and then saying, "Oh well, they've condensed the floor on our stars because this guy can't shoot." No, if that guy can't shoot, and they're going to just help all the way over. Cut behind him. You don't need to just stand in the corner. You can follow the help. Like if the help goes to double team the post and you're a non-shooter, if you cut behind him, that's an easy dunk. And if it's not, and he catch the ball and then he comes over, the big
remember that, but then they drop.
Now just has to flash to the middle. Like it's not basketball's not a difficult sport. There's going to be open space. If you double team anywhere, there's going to be open space. It's not magic. Like if you have to put two on the ball or two away from the ball, there's going to be open space. If you fill that open space and you're right next to the rim, you instantly become a threat to the defense. That's common sense. Basketball 101. So if you're right under the rim, now the help has to come down to you. And now that means either you catch the ball for a dunk, a lob, whatever, or they have to converge on you. That means someone else is now open who's actually a good shooter. Or they now have to leave the double team on the post, which means the big now just has to flash to the middle of the lane for one-on-one coverage. Now he can get a floater, he can get a dunk, whatever, or he can clean up on the offensive glass. It's not difficult. I don't know what to tell you. Like it's not.
You know who got really good at that? All of what you just described, Russell Westbrook.
I agree.
Even more good.
When we talking about bigs, I really quickly, Ron.
After this, we got
really quickly. We're going to move on. But to Ox's point, I will look you off on the box if you ain't working. I want to know that you want the basketball. If you just standing there and you put your hand up, you don't want the ball. Move the ball. He don't want the ball. But now, Ox, if you screaming, chill. Okay, wait a minute. Big fella's working down there. Now I got to get him the basketball. I just have a difficult time understanding the logic of why it's difficult to throw the ball in the post. This is some stuff. I understand the whole logic of yesteryear, but this is some stuff that's simple to learn. Just like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, when the floor opens up, it ain't difficult for me to hit Steph Curry coming off the screen, 24 feet away. That's not hard to do. No, even though we got more space, it's not difficult for me to hit Klay Thompson on a flare cut. When he's 22 feet away from the basket. That's not hard to do, just like it's not hard to do when I got Joel Embiid on the box and he's got him held on his weak arm and he's asking for the ball up here. Even if I got a defender in my face, I can shield this guy, up fake, hit him with the weak hand, pump fake, hit him with the strong hand, throw the ball into the post. That's not difficult to do. This is stuff that goes on that's fundamental. I still don't have a difficult time with it.
It's the player choice way. Yeah, them boys don't get it started. The player choice way. Yeah, the player choice way. Come and switch lanes into the player choice way.